He pushed her against the wall. His rough, calloused hands cupped her face, pulling her closer until her breath hissed. Mine, he growled before his mouth claimed hers with a savage intensity that stole her very soul. Her fingers tangled in his tousled hair, pulling him deeper into the kiss. When a voice called out, startling her, the book fell from her hand, dropping face down on the counter with a soft thud. With her cheeks burning with the intensity of the scene, she looked up. Mire, her friend, watched her with narrowed eyes. I've been calling you for the last 5 minutes. Her cheeks reddened even more. She cleared her throat, lips curving in a bashful smile. Sorry, I was just. She trailed off, laughing in embarrassment. With Mire's scrutinizing gaze still fixated on her, she slowly grabbed the book and took it away from her eyes. But Mire had already seen it. In fact, she knew about her obsession with books, especially the dark romance ones. You were lost in that book, Wire. Tell me how you are a reserved person in reality when you read such books. Make it make sense. She crooked an eyebrow as she paused on the high school across from her. Vine tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her cheeks still warm. I just love reading, all right. Mira's lips twitched as a thought popped into her head. She crossed her arms across her chest, mischief glinting in her eyes. Did you recreate any scene with your husband? Vine's face flushed, eyes widening in shock. The very idea of recreating those obscene scenes made her stomach coil in a nervous flutter. How could she do that when just one glance from him made her blush like a new bride? Mire, come on, she whined, eliciting a soft laugh from her friend. I mean, you are a hopeless romantic person. Read romance books, watch romantic movies. I hope your husband matches your passion. She wiggled her eyebrows teasingly. Vine had turned as crimson as a beetroot. She had gotten married just last month to an ideal man. He was kind, sweet, and gentle. He never raised his voice, always prioritized her comfort over anything, kept a respectful distance to not make her uncomfortable in any way. Out and out, he was the opposite of the man she read about in books. Art to Vine, she flicked her fingers in front of her face, interrupting her thoughts. Stop teasing me, Mire. She turned and started packing her stuff. The cafe was empty as it was closing time. A few workers buzzed around, sweeping the floors. Why not? I am. Just then, a loud horn blared outside the cafe, followed by the blinding brightness of headlights reflecting on the glass walls. Vine turned abruptly, a slow smile playing on her lips. Miri glanced at the car outside and smirked. Your very own personal ride has arrived. Shut up. She playfully glared at her before hastily packing her stuff. But Miri wasn't done. She was enjoying her reaction a little too much. Oh, look at the desperate wife, so eager to see your husband, darling. Vine ignored her teasing stare. Slinging her bag on her shoulder, she stormed out, pausing at the door to wave at her. As she hopped inside the car, her husband's warm smile greeted her. She beamed back, managing a soft, shy smile. Hey, how was your day? Busy. We had a lot of customers today, she replied softly, buckling her seatbelt. Jimin's warm gaze lingered a little longer, holding a quiet admiration. How was yours? She asked after receiving silence from him. When she turned, he was already watching her. Blood rushed up to her cheeks instantly, and she lowered her gaze in shyness. His smile widened. He found her reaction adorable, the way she would avoid his gaze, not out of fear but shyness, the way her cheeks would turn pink under his gaze, the way she would bite her lips to hide a smile. He had grown to like it. It drew him in like a moth to the flame. My days have never been better. His reply spiked the redness on her face. Her cheeks hurt from smiling too much. Reached out for the back seat and grabbed the bouquet he bought for her. Flowers for my wife. He held out the bouquet of vibrant dahlia flowers towards her. She lifted her gaze to the flowers, then to him and back at the flowers. The smile that curved on her lips made the flowers appear less appealing. For Jimin, she was more beautiful, more gorgeous, more ethereal than anything else. He admired her silently as she took the bouquet and smelled it. The engine roared to life as he sped up the car on the city streets. His eyes kept finding her now and then, observing her quietly, replenishing himself with the sight of her. He thought about how his life had changed in the past 1 month and that, too, for good. Why do you buy me flowers every day? She whispered as if afraid to interrupt the sacredness of the moment. He craned his neck enough to meet her eyes, a soft smile playing on his lips. There's a flower shop on the way to my office. Whenever I pass that shop and look at those flowers, they remind me of you. I just can't stop myself from bringing some for you. Her breath hissed as her chest swelled with something unknown. And if I be honest, my life has changed after I stepped into it. You have filled it with your charm and comforting presence. It's my way of showing little appreciation to you. His life reply caught her off guard. She was lost for words, utterly speechless. Thank you, she replied, her voice a mere whisper. Jimin's soft gaze lingered on her once again, drinking her in before he looked away at the street ahead. Jimin huffed a breath of frustration as he sat at his desk and glared at the laptop screen. All he wanted to do was to get cozy in bed beside his wife, but his work kept him occupied. It was important, hence he couldn't avoid it. Your coffee. She placed the cup of coffee on the table with a soft clink, steam curling from it. He gave her a grateful smile. Thank you. Vi nodded with a smile and turned to leave, but a grip on her wrist made her halt in her tracks. She turned, her gaze following her wrist now held by her husband and then to his face. Holding intense eye contact, he brought her hand to his mouth and pressed a kiss on the back of it. Her breath hissed, heart ringing loudly in her ears. It was a small gesture, but it made a whole zoo dancing in the pit of her stomach. Don't stay up late waiting for me. Good night. He held her hand for a moment and then loosened his grip with a soft squeeze. She felt her whole face burning under his stare. Good night, she managed to whisper and bolted. Jimin watched her hurrying out of the room, the corner of his lips lifting in a wide, almost boyish grin. Cute, he muttered to himself with a chuckle, but his distraction didn't last long as the task in hand demanded his full attention. Vine slammed the door shut and pressed her back against it, her chest heaving up and down with fast breaths. Her eyes dropped to her hand where Jimin had kissed. She could still feel the warm press of his lips, the lingering warmth of his hand enveloping hers, and the compelling gaze. Oh my goodness! She jumped on the bed, buried her face in a pillow, and screamed in it, her happiness palpable. She had always swooned over the morally grey men written in the books. Everything about them drew her in. In reality, however, now that she had married a man different from what she had fantasized so far, she found herself swooning over his gentle ways of showing affection. The next evening, Vine, clad in oversized pajamas, was sprawled all over the plush sofa. She was lost in the realm of imagination, in a parallel universe where every ethical wrong thing felt morally right, a half-empty glass of iced coffee sat forgotten on the center table. I'd burn the entire world for you. Her heart skipped a beat as she read about the fictional man going frenzy to find his woman. Her eyes widened as she delved deeper into the book, so deep that she didn't hear the front door open, didn't hear the slow footsteps of her husband walking inside. Jimmy stopped at the threshold, a frown forming between his eyebrows as he watched his wife lost in the book. He walked inside with deliberate louder steps, hoping she'd notice him and give him her prettiest smile, but she didn't. In fact, she didn't bat an eye. He narrowed his eyes at the book and cleared his throat loudly. She flinched, the book falling from her hand, landing face down on the floor. Her wide, startled eyes finally found his annoyed ones. Hi, he smiled, though his gaze flickered to the book on the floor, skimming at its black cover for a moment before lifting to hers. Hi, her lips twitched in what appeared to be an embarrassed smile as she quickly picked up the book and shoved it under the cushion on her lap. You are early today, she spoke and swallowed hard, her face burning in mortification. She prayed he hadn't noticed the book. If he knew, then she was doomed. Yeah, when you texted me that you were coming home early, I wrapped up my work as quickly as possible. He replied gently, intentionally missing the part of his co workers teasing him about it. Oh, she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, smiling softly, the book still concealed beneath the cushion on her lap. Jimin's eyes flicked to the book, curiosity gnawing at him. What was she reading with so much concentration? What was written in that book that made her so flustered? Doubts arose in his head, but he pushed them away as quickly. It was the time to focus on them, not on a mundane book. Now that we are both home early, let's go out. Her eyes sparkled with childlike excitement. I'll change my clothes. No question asked as she pushed off the couch and ran towards the bedroom, happiness radiating from her face. Jimin and Van strolled through the busy streets of the city side by side. The air was crisp and cold, biting at their skin. Their face had turned red due to the cold, but their warming presence kept them going. As they reached the street food market, her eyes sparkled looking at all those spicy, tangy delicacies displayed on the stalls. She looked around until her eyes stuck on a particular stall. Jimin followed her gaze. Let's grab some hot dogs first. He walked first. She hopped after him, barely containing her excitement. Jimin knew his wife was a reserved person. She took her time to get comfortable with anyone. Thus, he had started reading every subtle signs in her expression. It was easy to know what she needed before she could even bring herself to express it. Jimin watched as she took a huge bite of the hot dog, her eyes widening at the taste. Is it good? It's fantastic, she muttered with her mouth full of food, eliciting a chuckle from her. Realizing how excited she got, blood rushed up to her neck. They walked side by side after devouring the entire street food until they were full till brim. The steps were even slower, neither wanting the time to be over. There was something terrifyingly intimate about strolling through the streets with your partner on a winter evening, especially when the streets were decked up with vibrant fairy lights for the upcoming Christmas. Jimin stared at her face, walking slowly beside her, observing the glow of happiness, the excited hope in her steps, and the non-stop smile. He had a person whose mere presence made him happy. Could he ask for anything more? His eyes fell on a couple across the street, walking together with their hands entwined. Then he looked at their hands, which brushed every now and then. He wanted to hold her hand, but would she appreciate it? Would she be comfortable with the PDA? For a moment, he shut every rational thought and let himself go. With a slow, deliberate move, he intertwined his pinky with hers. He felt her freezing beside him. He stopped and searched for her eyes. As seconds ticked by, he wondered if she would retreat, but his heart raced when she slipped her fingers in the gap between his and started walking. Though he had already noticed the pink hue on her face, and somehow he knew it wasn't from the cold. Did you enjoy the food? He asked, matching her steps, tucking their cold entwined hands in the pocket of his jacket. Yes, I enjoyed everything, the food, the streets, the outing. Smoke blew from her mouth with every word she spoke. With the night darkening the sky, the air had turned icy cold. It's getting colder. Let's head home. We'll come again someday. She nodded and they turned towards the street leading to their house, but unlike earlier, now with their hands entwined. He emerged from the bathroom after changing into nightwear, wanting nothing more than sleeping into the warm covers. He found his wife already curled in the bed, knees tucked under the blanket, nose buried in a book with an obsessive focus. It was the same book from earlier, the same black cover, a skull imprinted on it, and the title embossed in bold golden words. His curiosity spiked. Wanted to know what was so interesting about that book that had his wife lose her sense of surroundings. He tiptoed towards the bed, hoping to sneak a peek. However, sensing his presence, she looked up. They both froze as if deer caught in the headlights. He straightened up while she slammed the book shut and shoved it under her pillow. Oh, let's sleep. He scraped his neck and walked over to his side of the bed. She nodded and lay down, covering herself till the head, eyes squeezed shut in embarrassment. The mattress dipped beside her as Jamil lay on his side of the bed. His gaze, though, kept flickering towards her pillow, curiosity clawing at his head. He wanted to know what that book was about. He needed to know, especially after her abrupt way of hiding it from him. Good night, he whispered and heard a meek reply in return before closing his eyes. Jimmy rushed from one corner to another, packing his stuff and getting ready in the process. He had overslept, and now not only him but Wyan was also getting late. Jimin, hurry, please, she called her from downstairs, probably fixing some breakfast for both of them. Coming in 2 minutes, he tucked a file between his teeth and pulled a sock on his foot while jumping towards the bed on another. He shoved the file in his laptop bag and pulled another sock on the other foot. Grabbing his bag, wallet, and car keys, he turned to leave but paused when his eyes caught the black book peeking from underneath the pillow. Without thinking twice, he put it in his bag and walked out. The entire day passed in a blur of meetings and signing documents. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, exhaustion had kicked in. Jimin put his pen down and leaned back into the chair, his shoulders taut from sitting in the same position. His eyes fluttered shut, a smile blooming on its own when his mind spiraled with the thoughts of his wife. I can't believe I was against the idea of marriage once because I believed I'd lose my freedom. Silly me. He snickered as he thought about the days when he was skeptical about getting betrothed after seeing many failed marriages around him. But after meeting Ryan, he had realized that marriage wasn't the problem. The people in it were. The partners who couldn't evolve together, resisted the change, or didn't put effort to keep the spark alive eventually fell apart. I try my best to make every moment a pleasant memory for us, he promised himself and sat upright to get back to work when it hit him. The book, he pulled it out from his bag, excitement bubbling over. Let's see what keeps my wife on her toes. He flipped the book open on a random page. His belt hit the floor with a soft clink as he unbuttoned his pants. He slammed the book shut, eyes open wide in mortification, the tips of his ears turning red. What the was that? Not even in his wildest dream did he imagine his wife reading something so obscene that even he felt embarrassed. No, no, this is not my wife's book. This can't be. He tried to make himself believe otherwise, though the truth stared at him out front. Swallowing hard, he opened the book again. The same page, the same text that made his face burn. He started reading. With every text, every line, every paragraph, his eyes widened more and more. His face flushed, and he couldn't hold back a gasp when he read a scene so prurient it made him squirm in his seat. He closed the book, breath heavy, cheeks red, a chill crawling its way up to his spine. How does she keep a straight face while reading this? He muttered to himself, rubbing a hand on his clammy forehead. He expected her to read fairy tale love stories where the hero and heroine fell in love. They fought the world and got the happy ending. What he didn't see coming was her reading about a villain falling in love, ruining the world for his girl, and killing through his way for a happily ever after. Does she like men like that? He wondered with a frown. Did she fantasize about men manhandling their women? Could he do that? Never. The last thing he would do was hold her roughly. He would never. Later that evening, Jimin came home to Wine going bonkers in the living room. She flung the cushions, lifted the couch, looked under the cabinets, desperately searching for something. His lips twitched, already knowing the cause of her distress. Are you looking for something? Startled, she whipped around. Her brows drew together in annoyance. My book, it's not in the bedroom. It wasn't in the cafe. It's not here. She grabbed a cushion and slammed it back when she couldn't find it. Jimin, finding it amusing and a great opportunity to tease her, pulled out the book from his bag. Is this the one? She turned, looking at the black covered book in his hand. Yes, where did you find it? She rushed towards him. As her hand shot out to grab it, Jimin pulled it away. A look of confusion crossed her face. Give it to me, Jimin. I will, but I'm curious to know what this book is about. Tell me. He feigned an innocent expression, though there was a teasing as in his tone. He held back a smirk when her face flushed red. It's nothing important. She raised her hand to grab the book, but Jimin pulled it away just in time. If it's nothing important, why are you so worked up about it? She gulped and looked away, blinking profusely. Words failed her, the heat on her face betraying her embarrassment. Let me read it. Her eyes widened in horror. She scrambled up on her tiptoes to snatch the book, but he turned away from her reach. Jimin, no, give it to me. But he only grinned and flipped the book open. And with that book, her hidden secrets. He dragged her into the shadows of the ancient oak, his gaze burning with an untamed hunger she both feared and craved. She gasped as he read it out loud. It didn't sound as scandalous during reading as it did when he voiced it out. Jimin, no! Struggled to take the book from him, but he kept reading, fueling her mortification. It devoured her gasp, the tremor that ran through her as his fingers found the lace of her bodice. Finally, her fingers touched the book and she hauled it out of his grip. Her breath was heavy, cheeks burning in shame, and eyes staring everywhere but at him. He crossed his arms on his chest and crooked an eyebrow, demanding an explanation without asking for it. I never knew my wife was into these books. She lowered her eyes, clutching the book to her chest to anchor herself. I thought you were a reserved, shy, and innocent person. I didn't expect you to read about mafias and blood and them being in heat. She shut her eyes and tucked her head down. She wished the earth could split and swallow her whole. Mustering her leftover courage, she raised her head, meeting his eyes with an unexpected boldness. So what if I read it? Are you judging me? Judging you? Not at all. I'm just surprised. I would never judge you for making choices, even if it's reading about a 7 foot man obsessing over a 5 foot woman. We chuckled and she couldn't help but smile along. She was 5'3", she countered with a grin, and he burst into soft laughter. Earlier, she was nervous about his reaction to her reading a dark romance book, but now she was relieved. That night, they sat beside each other to have dinner. The air between them was heavy with awkwardness. Though it chipped at the distance between them, it had made things a little gawky. Jimin cleared his throat, a doubt swirling in his head, fighting to release from his mouth. He nibbled at his lower lip, contemplating whether to ask or to stay silent. When she tensed beside him, an electric jolt skittering through her spine. Yes, about the book. Do you fantasize about those men? I mean, powerful, possessive, and dominant? He was unsure of her reaction. Either it would make things more awkward or it would wipe off an invisible line between them. She blinked and then burst into laughter. He looked at her in a daze, hypnotized by the soft sound rumbling from her chest. He decided then and there that her laughter was his favorite sound of all. No, absolutely not. I love reading a certain genre doesn't mean I want it to happen in real life. Do you really think mafias exist? And if they do, are they that empathetic and emotional to fall in love? She shook her head, laughter fading slowly into a smile. And honestly, I wouldn't want to stay in the vicinity of a man who considers that a woman belongs to him and not with him. She shrugged and ate her dinner. However, her words had riled up a turmoil inside Jimin. He knew now that she had drawn a clear boundary between fiction and reality, and that no matter what kind of exaggerated romantic things she read, she would still blush at his affectionate gaze. She was engrossed in another book, eyebrows drawn together in concentration. Jimin slid into the bed beside her, eyes following another black covered book in her hand. This time, the cover displayed a couple, a sculpted man with a sharp jaw and intense eyes, with a woman flush against him, her expression torn between fear and desire. He shifted closer to sneak a peek. She noticed, but didn't say a word. Now that he knew about her reading habit, she didn't bother to hide it. What are you reading? She stiffened when he placed his chin on her shoulder. Her head snapped towards him. She immediately regretted it as their breath mingled. One moment and they might kiss. Her throat walked as she gulped and looked away. It's another dark romance book, she whispered, her heart beating in her mouth due to his closeness. Is it intense? His warm breath ghosted over the shell of her ear, slowly, ever so slowly she craned her neck, their nose brushing. It is. Tell me about it. He whispered and pulled back, leaving her heart beating wildly. Really? You would listen? Her eyes sparkled with excitement. She had always wanted to talk about the book she read. Miri wasn't interested and she had no other friend she could rely on with her interests. Why wouldn't I? You can tell me about every book you read. She put the book down and turned towards him, grinning in joy. So, slammed her against the wall. Jimin gently nursed her back until her back was pressed against the wall. He grabbed her jaw firmly. Jimin cupped her face, his touch gentle and grounding. She giggled, glancing at the book to read further. He slammed his lips on hers. She blushed, looking up with a bashful gaze. Jimin smiled, tripping his head until his lips pressed gently against hers. The book fell from her hand, hitting the floor with a soft thud, but she couldn't care less. Her eyes fluttered shut, fingers curling around the collar of his shirt as her lips parted under his. This was a sign he needed before he kissed her with all the gentleness he could muster. His hand slid down from her cheeks and looped around her waist, pulling her flush against him. It never failed to surprise her just how far they had come in the last few months, from hiding her books to sharing the stories written in them to recreating the scene with him, of course in his style, with softness. He left her lips with a soft pop and pulled back. She smiled shyly, a soft pink hue spreading across her cheeks. No matter how many times they kissed, it always felt like the first time. The same flutter in her stomach, the same dancing for butterflies, the same goosebumps. I'll be back. He stepped away and walked towards the door. She frowned in confusion. Where are you going? Kitchen, to bring whipped cream. But why? He paused at the doorway and smirked at her, a teasing glint in his eyes. Let's just say I read your book. He winked and disappeared, closing the door behind him, leaving her a blushing mess.